The thought here, really interesting. They actually did a study on turning back the clock and ultimately were able to change the biological age of someone just through making them think that they were younger. So there's some peptides that you can use to increase mitochondria. One in particular, one of my favorites is Matzi. Some people reference it as exercise in a bottle. It's exercise mimetic. It actually does to your cells what exercise does. So really good recharger of your mitochondria. We have a new test that we're rolling out in the clinic in East West. It's an ultrasound test where we can ultrasound your carotid artery, and we can actually tell you what age that carotid artery is, which then, that's a good indication of your body's vascular health. All right. Good afternoon and welcome everybody to the Health Accelerator Challenges. This is your host, Kate Archibald, and we are going to be diving into some really, really intriguing, very cool, cutting edge stuff today. Some of which we're going to continue on the same vein and process that we've been going through with the Hallmarks of age reversal. So we got some great stuff there, as well as I got an awesome study on anti-aging that I think you guys are going to love. Reagan had some scheduling conflicts, so you guys get to hang out with me this afternoon rather than with Reagan. So hopefully I can keep you as well entertained and educated as he does. So I'm excited to be with you guys. We'll be diving into some really fun stuff. So if you're attending live, type into the chat box how your challenges went last week. Curious to hear how they went, as well as we had this last weekend. Just had some really, we had some practitioners and providers at the office who are doing a big training with Go Wellness. And we went through a really cool tool on age reversal interventions. And so I'm excited to go over some really fun stuff with you all. So we're going to get kicked off here with a study from, you can actually look this up on PubMed. The study is called Aging as a Mindset, a study protocol. And I'm going to move this over and I can actually share my screen as well so you guys can read along with me. So let me pull this up. Yeah, so this is the study, Aging as a Mindset, a study protocol to rejuvenate older adults with a counterclockwise psychological intervention. So the thought here, really interesting, but they actually did a study on turning back the clock and making people go to. I'll just read through it, but ultimately we're able to change the biological age of someone just through making them think that they were younger. So here's kind of the introduction. Although aging is generally perceived as a biologically determined process, the literature increasingly points to the importance of psychological factors in the aging process, specifically age-related stereotypes or cognitive mindsets. Such stereotypes reflect self-perceptions and other perceptions about the aging process and can have strong influence on health and life satisfaction, specifically through self-fulfilling prophecy mechanisms. The study is aimed to investigate whether changes in mindsets can change the aging process. So what they did, the process here, and how they analyzed it. So they replicated a large part study from the original 1979 counterclockwise experiment by Ellen Langer. And so this is a group of adults, 75 plus, taking part of a 1-week retreat outside of Milan, Italy. Participants were instructed and helped to relive their younger selves, acting as if they were living in the year 1989. The week-long residential programs designed to prime this perception by incorporating a completely retrofitted physical environment, as well as providing opportunities to engage in social activities that would have been common in the 1980s. The counterclockwise intervention is tested randomized, controlled trial, comprised of the experimental group, the active group, and then a non-treatment group. So that just gives you a little bit of the details on the different, it's a traditional study where they had a randomized control group, and then every participant's assessed for medical, cognitive, psychological, and age appearance at 4 time points at the time of recruitment. So kind of when they first say, yes, I'm going to do this, after the intervention, and then that's after a week from the no treatment group, and again after 6 and 12 months. Ultimately, what was found is they were able to turn back and somewhat reverse aging just by someone having and believing and living their past best life. So as if they were 20, 30 years younger. And so really just fascinating from a study, and just looking at the beauty of the human mind and the brain. Just your mindset alone of it, not necessarily, it's not like they were hypnotized or anything specific, other than they just asked participants to, just relive 20 years ago. See what, do the things that you did there, have the same self-belief, self-awareness that you did when you were, that age or in that year, and experience that for a week. And that was actually, it turned back the time on several different aging markers, which I think was just amazing. So fascinating. Just to give you kind of the simple spark notes, irrespective of the definition or form of measurement, they highlighted that when older adults are empowered with personal control, there are beneficial outcomes. Really interesting. They show humans have the tendency to believe that we can control or influence anything, even those things that are totally random. So really interesting. So look it up there. It's Ellen Langer. She does the study in 1975, and then there's a more recent study done in 2019, I believe, where they kind of reenacted that and saw some similar things. So next, just to kind of on that same vein, we've been going through the hallmarks of age reversal. We've been talking a lot about these, and Reagan's been working on this really cool tool for our practitioner clients as well as our patient clients. And so I wanted to go through a few of those specifics today. I think last time we met, I know last week I was actually driving Wednesday evening. And so Reagan kind of handled that solo. Share my screen here. So this is the hallmarks of age reversal with peptides. So we've talked about each of these 10 markers. So number 1, genomics, stability. is a big marker for age reversal, telomere lengthening. So that's your DNA strands getting those nice and tight and lengthened. So that helps with your total age longevity of how long you can live. The epigenetic restoration. So that's looking at more your health protection and how, and I think, when we talked before, Jenny, which I love this, she came up with that protection side of things. So, protect your sleep, protect those different components. We've talked about increasing proteostasis or cell and muscle building. And then the fifth one, optimized nutrient sensing, looking at energy and appetite. What's your macro and micronutrient intake look like? So those are the first five. And so I'm going to jump into 6 through 10 here. Number 6 is mitochondrial recharge. So your ATP powerhouse. So the question here is what will you do to level up your cardiovascular fitness? So when it comes to mitochondria, that is one of the 10 components of age reversal. So mitochondria, that's the powerhouse of the cell. If you don't have good mitochondria, your energy is going to be really low. Your endurance very low, and just you're not going to feel well. So there's some peptides that you can use to increase mitochondria. One in particular, one of my favorites is Matzi. You'll see improved energy with this, better endurance, and just overall feeling great. Some people reference it as exercise in a bottle. So it's an injectable, but it's exercise mimetic. So it actually does to your cells what exercise does. So really good recharger of your mitochondria. NAD is another one that's really good. 5-amino-1-MQ is another peptide that can be really helpful for mitochondrial function. Along with that, and these are all small peptides that are derived from mitochondrial proteins as well. And so they'll help with regulation of metabolism, inflammation, cell turnover, which is, once a really unique thing about our bodies is typically like our cells are constantly replacing themselves. One cell dies off, another one replaces it. That process is typically, it takes about a year for all the cells in your body to be brand new. So, today, if you fast forward a year from now, all of your cells will be different cells than what they are today. So kind of fascinating, because if you look at what you put in your body and you kind of look at all 10 of these age reversal mechanisms, if you could do this over the span of a year, potentially, and the goal would be is like your cells are completely turned over. And so you can have a brand new, fresh slate of cells and health. So that's what cell turnover is. But I think it's important to look at what you're doing health-wise right now, because really where that manifests itself in the form of success is in a year to 18 months from now, because that's really when those changes, those habits you've implemented, maybe a new, the peptides, typically you'll notice and you'll feel it much faster, which I love that about the peptides, because it's just opening up pathways and signaling in the body. But if you really think about it from a whole health transformation, you need to be really consistent over 12 to 18 months, because that's that cell turnover process. So anyways, I kind of over expounded on that, but that's number 6 is the mitochondrial recharge. Number 7 is the cellular rejuvenation, so repaired and renewed. This question's really, really helpful. How intentional are your recovery windows? So what are you doing to recover, repair, and renew your cells and your tissues, your muscles, ligaments, all these, all your full body. So LL37 is a really cool peptide for renewing. It can also be antiviral, but antibacterial. Really good in conjunction with regenerative medicine or stem cells. Thymosin alpha 1, KPV, BPC 157, as well as thymosin beta 4. These would all be really helpful in inflammation reduction, removing inflammation and cell damage repair. These peptides promote the formation of new blood vessels and increase cell rejuvenation of all types, including fibroblasts, endothelial cells, and immune cells. So that's really where you can increase recovery and rejuvenation. So number 8 on the age reversal hallmarks is stem cell activation. So in number 7 with cell rejuvenation, we're focused on repairing some of that damage and renewing. And then from stem cell activation, this is always regenerating. So you want to consistently be having upgrades with stem cells. So potentially getting some exogenous options. So one thing that we love is using human umbilical cord tissue allografts with sarcotropin, GHK copper, thymosin beta 4. These can all activate and regenerate even your most tired stem cells. It's really just honing in on there's a few different ways that this works. But if there's a lot of different ways that we can do those injections from, there's sub-Q, as well as direct injections. But these are things where you can really rejuvenate the cells. And they're improving the vitality of your stem cells, keeps you living unreasonably healthy for an increased amount of time. And so, the question here, what upgrades have you given your stem cell reserves? Which I think that's a really intriguing question. So think about what you're doing to add and provide to your stem cells. So, and just to kind of give you a little bit more on that vein, so stem cell, they play a crucial role in maintaining and repairing the body's tissue. But as we age due to disease, the number of functions of these cells can decline. So typically the way I've understood and what we've done research on is, if you think about like a newborn baby, they are robust. They have a significant amount of stem cells. One of their stem cells will replicate into, I think the number is 30 days. They'll have like close to 1 billion cells versus a 65-year-old will have about 30,000. And then as you age, that number gets lower and lower and lower. And so, creating young, vibrant cells in the body can be so impactful and so helpful. And so that's where I think looking at some of these options is just critical and crucial. And looking at it on a consistent basis, many, myself included, I know Reagan's even more consistent. But anywhere from every 90 days, 6 months to a year, it's kind of the maximum, is you're working on adding in some additional stem cell sources. So those can always be really, really cool. Number 9, enhanced cell signaling. So exchanging information. This is where your cells really good at communicating to themselves, to each other, and really, trying to cut out the interferences and just focus on clean communication. So, and any pathway disruption changes the signals that cells send and receive, which that triggers aging and a breakdown of your best health. So if your cells aren't communicating super well, you're going to have some breakdowns there. And so balancing your circadian rhythms. I think some other key factors here: no food 3 hours before bed. Because when you're sleeping on a full stomach, or your body's trying to digest food, you're going to disrupt that cell signaling. So that can be really helpful. No fluids 2 hours before bed, mostly just because we don't want you to have to wake up to urinate. No screen time or news 1 hour before bed. So reduce that cortisol, especially with the news. Add in cortisol manager, adaptocrine, leave out anything with more than 1 gram of sugar for best results here. And so some of the peptides or treatments that you could look at: exosomes transfer molecules such as proteins, lipids, nucleic acids between cells, which turn up the volume of the cell signaling pathways. You can add peptides, IGF-1, that's insulin growth factor 1, BPC-157 to increase your cell health. Also, the 12 bioregulator peptides, the complexes that we use can keep that cell signaling clear as well. And so those bioregulators can be extremely impactful. All right, so what part of your lifestyle is interfering with your health? So think about whether that's a habit, or a lot of times that can be sleep. I know for me, last night, my daughter's been dealing with a little bit of a stomach bug. Olive, she's 4. She came into our bedroom about 2 o'clock and was complaining, just had this really bad stomach. Well, about 4 a.m. And so my sleep was completely disrupted. I know I got to work on my cell signaling in a big way. Just today, as well as next couple days, and get my sleep back on track, because when your sleep gets off, that's going to disrupt all your cell signaling, because that's when they have a chance to actually take a break and work on things. All right, so number 10, fix what's broken, no death by neglect. And so it's also, you can look at this as when health improves, everything improves. And I think this is really important to look at some data, get some lab testing done. We did the carotid artery scans over the weekend. So we have a new test that we're rolling out in the clinic in East West. It's an ultrasound test where we can ultrasound your carotid artery, and we can actually tell you what age that carotid artery is, which then, that's a good indication of your body's vascular health. So we're seeing this be extremely impactful, maybe even more impactful than, say, a VO2 max score, because we're able to actually look inside those arteries and see how much plaque, how much inflammation, what is the age of that vessel. And I think where it comes from, it's Vaso Labs is who we're working on this with. And they have over 10,000 different inputs over the last 20 years. And so they're able to estimate the age based on how much plaque and inflammation. And so what's really cool, though, is we can get a starting baseline. And then from there, we can see where we have improvements and where we can make progress, because that's really what we want to see is when you're starting something new, when let's say you're new to the program, or even if you're an existing patient, this is something I would definitely recommend giving us a call in the office. We can get you scheduled for a carotid artery scan. We are pretty tightly booked on that right now. But it is really a really cool, intriguing scan where you can see the age of your carotid artery, or both sides carotids. And, and then we can come up with some action plans to get some improvements, and having some before and afters on that is really cool. So take a look at that. Give the office a call. That's one of those things that can really help support that no death by neglect motto that we have is, let's make sure we know what's going on with our heart. Some other tests, like obviously looking at your blood. Hopefully all of you out there that are listening to this have got some recent blood work. If not, make sure you're doing that every about 90 days to 6 months, maximum a year. And that would be if you're like your labs look pretty solid. So get some of those testing. You can look at stool, your adrenal profile. All these things can help you hone in on what needs some specific attention. And then what can you do to support those goals? So creating some of the biggest things for me is creating better health habits. Waking up early, getting a good workout in, getting my heart, just getting my blood flowing, blood pumping. Those are things that this morning I had to cut my workout down to really short, just based on I tried to sleep as much as I could because of my disruption with my 4-year-old. But it's amazing how much better I feel after I exercise, even though I didn't sleep well. And so that's something you always want to get up, get some movement. That's a big one for me, where I can feel like I just move better, I think clearer, and the day seems to flow much better if I can get at least a 5-minute workout in the morning. And that's one thing that I think it took me a really long time to understand that. I always thought okay, I got to go to the gym, be there for, 45 minutes to an hour, bust out, certain workout. Otherwise it doesn't count. Whereas really just doing something is better than doing nothing. If I can just do 50 air squats that day, because that's all I have time for, and maybe my sleep got disrupted and I needed to get some extra sleep, that's better than nothing. And so sometimes you got to take some of those wins and put them in your pocket. So I hope this was helpful. Hope I was somewhat as entertaining as Reagan is. Appreciate you guys joining us this week. So your challenge this week is answer those kind of 2 last questions. So, and this one's really great. So there's actually 3 questions. So what are the areas in your body that need attention? Who will best support your health goals, and when will you accomplish it by? And if you want something really simple, I would just say, go get your carotid artery scan. That is a really fascinating test, really intriguing and interesting to see. And so, love and appreciate you guys. We will see you next week, and we'll look forward to that. And you all have an amazing day. See you, everybody.